Welcome to Laugh, Cry, or Die, a comedy disability podcast hosted by me, Steve Wilbury, and Naomi Strain.
Hello.
We have disabilities, yet continue to stubbornly hold on to life despite our most fervent wishes of the cold embrace of the grave. And here we are to entertain you for the next while. How you doing, Nay?
I'm good. I'm so tired. I want to cry. I scheduled in half an hour bit of time today for a cry, but that time's already been eaten up by somebody else. So I don't get to do that today. But I'm fine. So how about
You can have
you?
a cry. Why not have a cry on the podcast? Everyone loves listening to a woman just sobbing into a microphone, right?
Don't tempt me. I'm teetering right on the edge. Like you would only just if you said please at the end of that, I'd be in floods of tears right now.
What if we do, you know how there's those like try not to laugh challenges on the YouTubes? What if we had a try not and just show you like compilations of like puppies loving each other and
Just
like there's a
try.
bunny and a rabbit?
Just try not to cry. And there's also people, the ASMR things, people
Oh
like
yeah.
to watch unusual things. So maybe me sitting here quietly weeping, that might relax people. That might be a nice thing
Just
for
like
people.
every once in a while. Just like that shuddery like
Yeah, just sitting here with just glistening tears on my cheeks and then an occasional breath catch.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Because
Planned.
it does
Do
sound
that.
a little bit like sex noise.
How do you cry?
Well, no, just the
Yeah, I do that all the time during sex.
wait, do you have sex with ghosts?
Sometimes depends how
Best
hot
sex
I am.
there is. Gotta
Yeah,
love that ectoplasm.
some
So
ghosts
this is a
spit.
podcast. I'm also very tired. For those of us not in the New Zealand region or temporarily located within our release window, we've just finished Fringe season here in New Zealand. There are three Fringes. There's New Zealand Fringe in Wellington, Dunedin Fringe, and Nelson Fringe are all in March, and it's this little circuit that you can do. And Naomi did a play.
I
She's a
did
grown
do
up.
a play. I did, and it was wonderful and got glowing reviews and brought some people to tears in a good way, well, in a sad way,
Mm,
but as an actor, if you can make somebody cry, that's awesome.
mm.
Um, Gave some people goosebumps, and it was a really fun role to play because it's quite serious but also funny. But I got at the end to shout and cry and die. So it was really nice and gritty and a lot of
Mm.
dialogue and a lot of emotion. And I did it and was awesome, if
You're
I may
so
say so.
fancy. You
I know.
fancy bitch.
I know it's like because a lot of time I've done panto, which is nice and fun and fluffy, and
Mm.
it's definitely fun in its own way. But this was like a decent sort of meaty role to get into, and I've enjoyed it
Cool.
absolutely. And we've got another show that we're going to do tomorrow, so I haven't let go of all the words just yet. I've got a rehearsal tonight, and then we're doing it tomorrow in one of the schools. Um, but yeah, I am exhausted from doing it because rehearsals, you're just on the go all the time beforehand. Every day, keep it on top of your lines and make sure you don't forget them. And I just need a bloody break. This struggling every day is so hard. And then this
Mm.
weekend, I've just done another course, which is another thing. But at least mine have all been in Nelson. Like you've been all over the place with yours, haven't you?
I did Wellington and Dunedin and Nelson. Very
How have you found that? Has that been like made your body worse? Your hideous, awful body? Has it made it even worse?
mixed. I've been trying to figure so I did a week in Wellington. It was in Wellington. I did three shows in Wellington, so I was there for like a week. And then I was home for a week, and then I did three shows in Dunedin, so I was there for a week, and then I did two shows on the same day back here. So I did have a little bit of a break in the middle, but being in another city and going out and seeing all the shows and doing and just like pretending that you can hold a conversation with people for more than an hour.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it was nice because I didn't have to do any fold the laundry or do the dishes or I all I had to concentrate on was like my show and keeping okay. So I didn't fall over anywhere as bad as I thought I would. And now that I've come back, I'm really feeling the work that I did at the gym last year before I went because I knew I was going to have a busy summer. So I was going to the gym and I was working out and I was doing squats,
Right.
and I can feel that even after that hard couple weeks, I've still got those muscles attached to my bones. And I'm like, actually, yeah, I'm way more functional than I thought I would be for sure.
That's really good. So the exercise stuff did help, which is
Yeah, it turns out if you work out and build muscles, then those muscles can carry your bones through the world easier.
yeah, I think muscles help with walking and stuff like that.
I've heard rumors they're related to standing also, but I'm not a
It's
physiotherapist.
just rumors. Don't buy into it, Steve. That's TikTok for
It's
you.
just, it's just fake news, fake news.
The thing with Fringe is that because like we know a lot of people that are in shows and stuff, it's not just your own shows. You're
Mm,
going to other people's shows, and there's lots of stuff behind the scenes as well.
mm,
And it's like trying to go and see the shows of all my friends, and like I came to yours and I actually
mm,
paid for yours. I didn't use one of my freebies because as a performer, you get some freebies. And so
mm.
I use them on shows that I obviously still cared about because they're my friends, but they were, whoops. But for specific ones I paid for, and yours was one
Mm.
of those. And bought
Well,
my friend
my
Donna, and Donna
mm.
is a brilliant audience member because she will laugh and cry and make all the right noises so genuinely that she's an awesome person to have in your audience.
It's she was. I did actually hear. I could hear her laugh in the and then she would spark everyone else off, which is always good to have.
Yes.
The It was really interesting taking the show because when I did it in Wellington, I it was one of those things where everyone had a good time and I got a glowing review, but I still wasn't happy with it. I thought there was more to there. It wasn't tied together right. It just wasn't quite right.
Right.
And then in Dunedin, I met up with a friend of mine who did most of a master's in directing for stage. And we sat down and had a couple pints and with the laptop and really like worked out what the themes were,
Right.
and like the stuff about like go and do your thing because life can be just as horrible, and the balance stuff at the end, and like really getting the things that made people cry. And when the first time I did it in Dunedin with the notes that he gave me, I saw a guy in the front like wiping away tears.
That is
And
gold.
then like the next show, someone else who I knew was like, oh, I got a bit weepy there. So I'm like, okay, there's something here that's doing things to people. It
Yeah.
still needs tightening, but yeah,
Uh,
so what you say?
I think because you've like you start out funny and then you've got your tricks and you've got your jokes. By the time you get to, the emotional heartfelt stuff, you've already
Mm,
brought everybody on board on your side and they're all rooting for you. And so
mm,
when you go, actually, here's some genuine emotional stuff, not just stage stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
People are with you on that.
Mm,
And that's, yeah, as a performer, getting some raw, genuine emotion back from your audience,
mm,
fucking
oh,
awesome.
yeah. And I'm just really stoked. I think that next I'm going to take the show around Fringes again next year after tightening it and working on it and thinking about it again for another year. And I think next year it's like it'll be an award winner, 5-star
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
dick slap of a show.
yeah, definitely.
It's still just a really good time. It's still a very good time, but I think it can be amazing.
Yeah, I think with the Fringe, you end up running on nervous energy because doing the show at any time is, you're running on adrenaline a lot of the time,
Mm,
but because of how busy Fringe is, by the time you get to the end of it, you've been using your energy from the next 2 weeks. And
mm,
so we got to the end of our last show, and I'll tell you about the very last show in a sec.
mm,
And it's like brilliant, can now relax. But I booked in to do this writers workshop thing this weekend, and it's 2 full days of being absolutely pumped with information. There's so much info in my head, so many notes, and so much learning. And towards the end of yesterday, I was going. I had to get up a couple of times and actually go and stand just by the door so I get some fresh air to try not to like pass out or something because I had nothing left in me.
mm,
Um, and so I thought, okay, this week I'll pencil in some crying time. But because of doing Fringe and everything, then
Oh my
what?
God.
What's happened?
My kitten has just pulled the corpse of a mouse out from underneath a small dresser unit. Give me a moment.
Okay, how long's that mouse been there? Go on, go and deal with the dead mouse.
Oh my God. That
This
show
will
has been so mental.
this will make an awesomely entertaining part of the podcast while Steve goes and touches a dead mouse.
I need to blur this out in the.
Oh, yeah, I'll censor that. If yeah, nice. Stop making the mouse dance.
But he's happy. He gets to be dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. I don't know, how long has that mouse been there?
I think there's a stand-up routine in how ridiculous it is that we've brought cats, an apex predator, into our house, and we're just like, "Oh, you like yarn," and they just
Yeah,
kill things. If a cat was the size of a human, it could leap a 70-meter ditch. What the fuck?
that's ridiculous. And they've tamed us. We didn't
Mm.
tame them.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah. They
wanted to
were.
come into our caves, and
Yeah.
we went, "Oh, they're cute," and we let them. That's
And they're
disgusting.
like, "Hey, I'll kill the rat that's eating your grain," and we're like, "Ah, fine, and I'll bring it home for you."
But they learn how to meow. Like they don't
Hmm.
naturally meow out in wild. They do that first because we're
Hmm.
suckers. Suckers for a pretty face.
And oh man, we were talking about
Oh
show.
yeah, yeah. So I did this writer's course and thought that this week, because all the sort of entertainment obligations, etc., were out the way, that I could this week have some rest time. But because of doing all the shows and having all my time taken up there, this week is so busy playing catch up.
Hmm.
And like my diary, I've had to list like every little thing in my diary, and I can have a break on Friday for about half an hour. That's my that's my next bit of rest time, and I'm just so tired. Like last night, I really, I was like a toddler. I was like in my house, and it's like I really want to cry, but I'm too tired, and so I really want to go to sleep, but I can't sleep because I want to cry. And I was just like, when you're so exhausted, you're confused. And I'm like, do I want
Yeah,
to sleep or do I want to cry? Or do I think I might want to just run away? I don't know.
I'm gonna go live in the forest.
It's a good job I don't drive because I would have got in the car and just driven and hidden. I'd have turned all my tech off and just drove out into the countryside and stayed there for a month.
Well, like in with an L and I.
With the what? Sorry?
With Nell and I, or
Oh,
with Nail.
yes.
I don't
Yes.
know how you
Yeah.
pronounce it. Um,
Just escape.
yeah, it's like there's a bit that hasn't quite worked its way into my show, and I do a bit about like spoon theory and how
Mm.
you can, and it's that thing where you can borrow spoons from the days going forwards, but then you have to pay them back with interest, and then you can end up with negative spoons. And if
Yes.
you end
Yeah.
up with negative spoons, you're forked.
Hey.
It's not a very knife time.
Oh, very nice.
That is the greatest joke ever written.
But in my own, it's all right, yeah. With doing the shows, my last show still got good reviews, still made people emotional, perfect. Nobody noticed anything was wrong. What happened to me though was quite different. I got on stage, and we started with like the national anthem of the world that we're in, and we have to do it very passionately. And we finished that song, and I thought, shit, I feel really dizzy. Maybe I was too patriotic, but then it didn't get better. Like I was sweating, I was shaking, I could feel like the blood pumping in my ears, and I
Hmm.
thought, I'm going to pass out. And because of the way the play is, you don't leave the stage the whole time. There's three of you on stage, you're in full view. And I thought, I can't even sit down. I can't even get a drink of water. Like, how? And so I was being really schizophrenic. It was like part of me was doing the play and being
Hmm.
amazing. And then part of me was watching, going, you're going to die. And I was like I couldn't concentrate, but I'm the consummate professional and nobody noticed. And at one point, I decided that because I had no option to leave, My only option was to act my heart out until I died. Like I thought, I'm going to just wake up on the floor at some point. I'm going to
Mm,
have to keep on going and just until I pass out. And at one point towards the end, me and the other lady in it, we go kind of behind a curtain. We're still in view of the audience, but we're a bit separated while a guy does a dance. And we got in front of her and I said, I feel really unwell. I don't know what's happening. And because seizures, people know that I
mm,
overheat this thing. So she undid the tie I was wearing, undid the button, took the waistcoat off. And she's just like, we'll be good. And there's a few people that know me as well, were watching from like a balcony. And as soon as they saw her doing the button and the tie, they're all like
mm,
meerkats, like, what's wrong with Nate? Something's going wrong
mm,
with Nate. Like,
mm,
she's right. And so everyone had eyes on me, or, my people
mm,
had eyes on me. Got through to the end of the show and did all the bows and yeah, everything's wonderful. Walked out and collapsed. And I
mm,
couldn't stop shaking and I wanted to cry. And I didn't because I'm tough. I don't cry. And went and stood in the rain and tried to stop shaking and sweating. It was
mm,
ridiculous. And then, got my shit together and I got home and was fine. Was just very tired. But that was the hardest bit of stage that I've ever
mm,
done. And nobody that didn't know, didn't know me
mm.
personally, nobody knew. I'm so good. I'm so professional.
Well,
Very
I think
pleased
that's
with myself.
like that thing about like that schizophrenic thing, because I was talking to somebody about like is when Lewis was really sick and I was having a really hard time and I had
Yeah.
a gig and I was like, how do you be that stage person? And Andrea was like, they're just totally different people. They're just different people.
Yes. And I
And
think
so
that's
you were able
being
to keep like stage you running while analytical you was like, wow, the gauges are pretty red right now. This is oh look, one of the what is like steam's coming out of the pipe
yeah,
and shit,
yeah.
you know?
I think that's where your professionalism and your rehearsals come in because I think
Mm.
my muscle memory
Yeah.
still was like, okay, these are the moves, go through the moves. And so from a memory point of view, all the act was there. From an acting point of view, that's the professional bit coming in. Like you can't just say these lines, you still have to deliver these lines. You still have to have that expression on your face, and you still have to do all the acting stuff. And breathing and being upright and not shaking and not throwing up, they all have to be put on the back burner. And
Well,
that's
it's because so you were like right on the edge,
Mhm.
right?
Mm,
So allow me, this is a slightly long segue, but it involves the most fringest thing that's ever happened to me ever.
okay.
So I was in Dunedin and I was going to meet Eli to talk about my show. And I bump into my friend who's outside at a pub having a drink. And I'm like, oh, I'll sit here and have a drink while I wait for Eli. And there's this American guy from one of the cruise ships who's trying to get a video of the animated crossing signs in Dunedin. So in Dunedin, they have a little 3-frame animation for the crossing sign that he thought was just the coolest. But
Right.
he was pissed because he not like he was drunk because he'd spent the rest of his Kiwi money that he was burning through on beer and it had like 5 beers and kept missing the sign. So then kept hanging out with our table and chatting. And then he found out we were comics and we were chatting away and just talking about being arty. And he was like, I don't normally show this to people, but here's a picture of me when I was 19. And it's a picture of him looking very suave in the 70s and like really awesome. We're
Yeah.
like, oh, looking good, buddy. And he goes, you know who that is next to me? We go, oh, really? He goes, that's Alice Cooper. He was
Wow.
the
Okay.
original drummer for the Alice Cooper band. He started the Alice Cooper band in high school when he was a
Oh,
kid.
wow. Okay. Interesting. That's a
And
random meetup.
that so then was like, you guys seem all right. And then I was having some of my meds and he was like, is that a bong? And I was like, yeah, I've got a prescription. And he was like, I've been smoking weed every day of my life for 55 years. On the cruise ship, I haven't had any for a week and I'm going insane. And I was like, here you go, old man. So he then ripped 2 fat bongs and I rolled him a joint and he sat down and he started telling us stories about and how he would just do this wild shit. and he was this raging alcoholic, horrible, horrible human being. But because he was on the edge of everything, that's where his great artistry came from. Like
Right.
he
Yeah.
told us a
Yeah.
lovely story about a sexual assault that committed. Like he was walking along with this chick behind the stage, and Jim Morrison just came out and just grabbed this woman's tits and then kept walking.
Right. Should we put a disclaimer in there so we don't get done for slander?
Maybe cut that bit out. But
No, I want to keep it.
it was and the jokes he told were of a different time. And we're like, he was a very nice man. I don't think there was a vicious he wasn't vicious, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But he had never been forced to confront himself or his views or his life ever.
Yeah, yeah, just been left to get away with it all.
Yeah. But he no, well, not I don't know if I get away with I don't know. It was just weird. It was fucking weird. But yeah, it's that similar thing where you were right on the edge of yourself. And it's when I think you're talking about, like getting stuff back from the audiences. And if you're really about to cry and you're giving them that emotion, that's what you're going to get back. And that's like where
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
the craft is, I think. I don't know. But
Yeah.
being able to being able to have to genuinely have that emotion while still being able to point it using that same brain that's like, oh, I'm going to pass out. So there's like the part of you that's having the emotion, and then there's the part of you that's trying to point the emotion in a certain direction on stage. Does that
Yeah,
make
sort of.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, like pulling on all the things you're feeling and putting
Mm,
them into your performance.
mm,
And so I guess even if you're playing a very happy character, it's still an intense emotion that you feel. And a lot of the time, the emotions in your body, with the chemicals and all that,
mm.
it's only our brain that decides
Yeah.
what that emotion is. So, like, I often say this to people, like, especially young people that are going on stage for maybe the first time, is that physiologically, fear and excitement are very, very similar. So,
Mm,
when you're about to go on stage, like your heart racing and your butterflies and the sweating and all that kind of stuff is the same for fear and excitement. It's just your brain. So, when you're feeling all those things, just stop and go, am I actually excited about going on
mm.
stage? And it's just that mental shift. And
Yeah.
so any kind of tense emotion, just put it where you need it to be
Mm,
and go on stage. And I've also got a thing as well. When I get butterflies, I don't really get them too often because I don't give a shit.
mm,
But I often say to myself, at least I'm not pissing myself.
mm,
Which is one of my kind of things because I piss myself in public,
mm.
right? And so if I'm on stage, things can go wrong like that, but at least I'm not pissing myself. I
You've
think that's
always got that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did so I did two shows with Lewis as well. We did two Ahoy Me Farties shows.
Ah, yes, yeah.
And he did fantastic and he was great, but he was doing the thing where afterwards he was like, it was terrible, I suck, I'm no good, I'm not good at this. I forgot to do this thing. And I was really like, okay, buddy, let's sit it down. They don't know what the hell is supposed to happen.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everyone thought you did great, you did great. And I eventually, after like half an hour, he was like, okay, maybe I did okay. And I was like, they wouldn't have clapped if you did. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's that whole thing. The audience only know if you've messed up if you let them know that.
yeah.
Like they don't
And
know what the next line was going to be. They don't know if you were supposed to do that
yeah,
little bit. And so, yeah, it's that confidence to blag your way through it.
yeah. And
And that's
it's
all art is just pretending and faking and lying.
and he was talking and we were talking about it and he was like, so like, am I good in this and that? And I was like, you've been watching your parents do it your whole life. Like stage presence and charisma is just like baked into him. Like
Yes,
it's just
yeah.
part of who he is. Um and yeah, and he really, really liked doing the shows. So might tour Ahoy Me Farties next year as well and take the
Nice.
boy around. He's
You're
because
proper
he's seen me go away on tour his whole life and he's always wanted to go away with me.
nice. You're a proper carnival family, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Because we're trying to work out how to get Rachel into the show as well, and then we can have a proper like circus family
Oh,
show.
that'd be really
There was this lovely family from Spain who came to Nelson Fringe who were
I went to see them. Yeah, I went to see them. And they got the little girl out at the end.
yeah,
She's adorable. She's so tiny. She was like a little doll.
she is So cute. So I met up with them and we went out for lunch, and she does the little hand dances that her mom does, like the Spanish hand
I
things,
like
and
the
she just kind of,
castanets type
yeah,
thing.
like the castanets things, and she's like kind of, and she's kind of like, I know this is kind of how it is. She is
Oh,
a doll. And we go out
completely
to lunch,
adorable.
and her mom was explaining to her that Lewis, so it was Lewis and I, that Lewis and his mom are a circus family, like the two of them. And she was like pointing to us and then to her family. She's like, wow, that's so cool to meet like another circus family. And
Oh,
those guys are going to Mallorca to do a like summer contract in Europe while it's winter down
wow.
here. And they're doing from April until November.
Wow.
And it's 13 shows, 1 day off.
That's hardcore.
That's circus, man. That's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and so they're saying basically they do these like long, super intense contracts, and then they can go do a fun season in New Zealand or,
Right, right.
wherever. Um, yeah, and that little 4-year-old is just so
She's
cute.
she's amazing. Like she sat at the front for the whole show, very well behaved, and then he gets her up at the end, and collectively all the audience went, "Oh," because she's so cute in a little Spanish dress and doing her
Mm,
little moves and her little magic trick.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's so cute, and everyone was totally on board. Like I was saying with you, with having your heartfelt moment, and once you've won your audience, they're
yeah.
totally invested. That's quite a special place to be. I think as performers, when you've got the audience on your journey with you,
Mm.
it's like I guess it's kind of egotistical because it's like you've won people.
Well, you've changed them over the course of your show. So one of my favorite like examples of this is Graham Norton. So like Graham Norton, the TV show host, right?
Hmm, hmm.
So his stand-up back in the day, he started the show and he said something a little bit quite rudy, and the audience was like ooh, and he took them down the steps into the basement of filth until at the very end he got a gay meetup mag and gave them options of which phone number they were going to call live.
Right, right.
And one of them was like, Mr. Toilet Mouth, come find me and do whatever you need to do into my mouth. And they howled for the filthiest one
Right,
because he
right.
swung them around over the course to where, to his point of view, where he's like, I think this is hilarious if we all called this guy. This would be amazing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
And
unfortunately, Mr. Toilet Mouth didn't pick up. But
oh,
still,
Brian. But yeah, you have to kind of earn that sort of right, so step by step to
yeah.
get them to where you want. And it's similar sort of thing with laughing about the seizures and stuff. If I go in hardcore to somebody I've never met and said, I just want to fucking die because everything sucks and my seizures are hateful, I want to kill myself, then people would be a bit like, that's not nice. Whereas if I go, oh, I'm very tired, oh, I'm very sad today,
Mm,
and baby steps right the way through to my own demise,
yeah.
then it's okay. Or like being on stage when I made jokes about seizures, people at the very start are a bit like, oh, I don't know if we're allowed to laugh. But and then
Mm,
as it progresses, it's like, oh no, yeah, when you're on side, it's okay.
yeah.
But yeah, you have to sort of earn that
One
joke.
of the things that Eli was saying I could maybe do is like do some crowd work and like get people to talk about their own invisible illnesses or things
Mhm.
they don't talk about. And stupid me, I tried to do that at the top of the show, and I was like, anybody else here got an invisible disability? And it was just like crickets. It was like, who's had,
Right.
and then even it was just like, so I was like, okay, that's too far. And I was like, well, maybe we can talk about like struggles or things that make like difficult, even just, like Brenda, the office being mean. And it's something we've talked about a lot on here that like, even though our struggles are so extreme, it doesn't make other people's struggles less valid, right?
Completely, completely.
So I was like, okay, I wanted to get people to kind of talk about some of their struggles at the start of the show. And I got one guy who was like, yeah, I couldn't catch any waves this week. There wasn't any surf. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
cool.
But yeah, doing that at the start, they don't yet trust you.
Yeah, totally.
And so yeah, until you're a safe person,
Mm.
then yeah, you don't want to share that.
Yeah, it turns out people are averse to sharing their innermost, darkest secrets to a stranger with a microphone. Who would have
Whereas,
thought?
whereas we will just completely trauma dump
Yeah,
on anybody who will listen. And when we run out of people that will listen, we start a podcast to try and tell more people how terrible things are. Like, this is therapy. But you know,
sponsored by.
talking of therapy, yeah, sponsored by, come on, people, come on, sponsor us.
We should get some of that BetterHelp money.
Yeah. But like talking of therapy, like as you know, every now and again they try and psych the seizures out of me. So I'll go to a psychologist and they go, okay, you need to stay present, you need to be in the moment in
Mm.
case like some functional neurological seizures are like dissociating, like, oh, everything's too stressful, I'll have a
Oh,
seizure
right, yeah.
so I don't have to look at it. And so they're like, oh, you need to stay in the moment and ground yourself. And what can I smell? What can I see? All that
Mm.
stuff. It's like, if I can be on stage at the point of feeling like I'm going to die and I don't collapse and I don't run away and I make it through the thing, it's like, I couldn't possibly be any more in the moment than I
100%.
was at that point. So, like, if my seizures were to be, like a panic attack or whatever, that would have been the time.
Mm.
And it's not that by staying in the moment averted the seizure because I collapsed. I still had a seizure that day.
Mm.
Last night, I had a seizure, and it's like I can do the things of, following all the advice and staying in the moment. I still have the seizures. I still
Mm.
collapse. I know all the tips and tricks. I know the work. I do the work, and it doesn't help. But I mean, it's still valid to do because when
Yeah.
things are stressful, that I'm not going to have a seizure every time things get stressful. But those tips and tricks are still useful to get you through those other shitty moments that aren't disorder related.
Yeah, I think it's like that what you're just saying about like the stuff that you learn to deal with your disorder also helps with your life, you
Oh,
know?
completely. Yeah, yeah. All those things are like in any aspects of life. It's really good to be aware and use, whatever
Mm.
breathing techniques and pay attention to when your body's very tired and when you need to
Mm.
take action on stuff.
Mm.
I think any kind of self-help things, they're not going to hurt. They're not
Mm.
self-harm. They're self-help.
That's why it says on a book. So it
Yeah.
says on the whole fucking section, doesn't it?
Yeah. Be happy or else I'm going to lock you away.
Be happy, or else I'm gonna fucking punch you in the tits.
Just get happy. It just reminds me of part in Drop Dead Fred. I love
Oh
that
my
film
God, I'm
very
not
much.
see. I was just thinking, I've not seen that film for a long
Because
time.
he whacks her in the face with a spade and said, "Just get happy." That pops into my head on a regular basis. So, like, yeah, if you could just pang me in the face with a spade, that might help. That could
Well,
be
I
part of my medical treatment plan. Pang her in the
have you
face.
tried spading the seizures away?
I
You
haven't
know,
actually tried
I
it.
don't think you've had enough head trauma this year. Maybe another concussion. We'll just give you one of those. It'll be great.
Yeah, I think so far this year, what month are we in? Oh, only still March.
March.
I think I've had a couple of decent head knocks, but this one's faded quite well. That
Mm.
that one was just looking at a table far too quickly and far too closely.
Have you
But
thought about not having a table?
well, see, this is it. People say, "Have you tried not having seizures? Have you tried not headbutting things?" Nobody said, "Have you tried not having furniture?" If I don't have things, I can't hit them.
Boom. Nailed.
Right, that's it. I'm going to burn all my stuff. I mean, I already choose my like crockery and glassware and
Mm.
stuff based on its durability.
Do
Like,
you know what you need? You just need to eat off camping wear.
funny you should say, I do have plastic cups and plates in my cupboard that I don't use all the time,
You
but
really should.
because because of the regularity with which I break things, I need emergency backup stuff. And every now and again, it's like, oh, I need plates because I don't have any because I've smashed them all. I'm currently doing all right. I don't have any matching kitchenware.
Oh, neither do I.
I think it makes it quite eclectic. Like,
No,
let's
it makes you look like an artist. It's like, oh, look at all
exactly.
these fun mugs.
Yeah. And also, I never entertain, and so nobody gets to see. I could have one cup, one plate, one bowl. I'm sorted.
That's a video.
No, no, don't even go down that route. No.
One person, one
God.
cup, one plate, one bowl. All
And it's
spaghetti bolognese.
just me having a sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh.
with a little bowl of chips and
That's
a
hot.
glass of Fanta. Grrr.
Again, I mean, people will watch and sexually enjoy anything.
Hey
So,
man,
one video of me having a sandwich, one of me crying. We'll cover all the bases. Then we'll break the algorithms.
and have millions of invisible internet points.
Yes, completely.
Well, I think that just about brings us to the end of today's recording time of Laugh, Cry, or Die. Have you enjoyed our time together, Naomi?
I have. It's quite nice talking through the creative stuff
Hmm.
and the challenges we face doing that, and also that feel good and that good buzz. And I
Yeah.
think being a performer in whatever arena you're a performer in is so satisfying, and it really gives you a lot of I don't know, it's such a feel good. It's like without being too pretentious, it feels like that's almost what you live for.
Well,
When
it's show business. It's free cocaine.
yeah, yeah, you get on stage, you do your stressful thing, and you walk off, and you're absolutely buzzing.
Yeah,
And
because you're riddled with endorphins and adrenaline and all the stress hormones, and you're just like,
yeah, love it,
it's a
love
good
it.
time. You should do it if you're listening. Uh, if you are listening and if you have enjoyed, please remember to follow us on all your favorite platforms and tell your friends, family, social groups, church newsletters, school newsletters, leaflet drops, Korean propaganda poster outfits, everyone that you know, please tell them because we want to talk to you guys. If you think you would make a good guest, hit us up, send us a DM. We want to speak to other spazzes that are around. And we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.